and I thank you for the items that you sent me. The monkey and the plywood violin. I practiced every night, and now I'm ready. First, we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin.
I recall, Rodney, you wrote to me from Akaroa, and you said that you thought you owed me a debt of gratitude for introducing you to the territory of art history. That was in 1966, when you were a student of mine at Secondary Teachers College in Auckland, training to be a secondary school art teacher. In fact, Rodney, this is a good occasion for me to say I am the one that is indebted to you, that you made a particular and significant actual contribution in the education field, in that you were able to obtain release for the Department of Education, for which I worked at that time, to release the reproduction of New Zealand paintings for distribution as art resources in schools. I know that that entailed a lot of discussion and debate as to whether this material should be released for this purpose, but you won, and I'm grateful for that, because those reproductions are still on the walls of many, many New Zealand schools, and are a tribute to that initiative of yours.
Well, it was a pleasure to work with Rodney Wilson, because he was appointed when I was the president of the Auckland War Memorial Museum, and he brought a lot of experience to deal with the financial problems that the museum was then facing. We had to make a lot of unpopular decisions, but it reconstituted the whole governance and set the tone for the new development of what the museum is now. It was a pleasure to work with somebody experienced enough in all those sort of fields.
You would say it was science oriented. The directors tended to be scientists. The activities that you heard about were really lean to the science side. And although the museum was very good at showing its objects, you always felt that the science was lying at the back of it. Now, gradually, I believe that what came in with Rodney was a slanting of the museum to reflect on the beauty of things and the story they had to tell, as well as the knowledge that they contained.
Rodney had gone away from using traditional museum designers to using people who were used to designing sets for films and TV programs. And it made it very interesting. Each gallery that you went into was a different discovery, and it was probably one of the first museums, one of the first major museums anyway, to move away from the display cases to the storytelling.
And he and a couple of others, Lute Byringer and Jim Barr, and there may have been a couple of other people involved in it, but they formed an organisation called the New Zealand Art Gallery Directors Council, and what it did was it toured exhibitions around the country. It was a tremendous innovation to form that group, because they took the power of exhibition creation that was all around the country, all the talent in galleries from Auckland through to Dunedin and indeed in Invercargill, and they set up this organisation strictly to tour them from one place to another. So there was this big menu, if you like, of exhibitions you could choose from. But what Rodney picked up that ball and ran with was the big blockbuster shows. It might be the Buried Army of Chinchawang, it may be an exhibition of European art or American art, one of these big show. But whatever that project was, we shared the core cost being the costs of bringing the show to New Zealand, insurance, all that kind of thing. So that meant that instead of one gallery carrying all those costs, 2 galleries would share those costs, 3 galleries would share the costs, 4 galleries would share the costs, reducing the cost to each venue. And that, of course, meant that this was a chargeable exhibition. If you got 69,000 visits, paid visits in Christchurch, you made quite a bit of money. This made our political leaders very happy. And of course, it increased the gallery attendances throughout the country very quickly and very effectively, and brought a lot of interest to the visual arts in New Zealand, gave it a great boost. So I always thought that that was a terrific business model, it was a great innovation, and Rodney pushed that forward.
Rodney was having a bit of trouble with the contractor, and he'd made some, in a meeting, he'd made some comments about how the contractor wasn't being as helpful as he could. And after the meeting, I left the meeting early after I'd done my bit, and a journalist came up to me and said, gee, the contractor, Fletcher's, they didn't sound as though that good in that part. And I said, well, actually they're not too bad. I think that Rodney had a little bit of that wrong, but it was actually, they're doing a good job, and they're going to try and do better. And then I went home and thought about that, and I thought, gee, that could be a bit tricky, because the Auckland Star journalists might do something with that they didn't like. So I went and waited outside the Civic Theatre for the early copy of the Star, and on the front page, architect criticises director was the headline. So I grabbed this Auckland Star, raced up to his office, put it on his desk, and we had a good laugh about it. So that was Rodney's capability to forgive, if not totally forget. After leaving the council in 1985, I set up my own company, and in that year we won a competition to do the Maritime Museum, which was then on Prince's Wharf. And that was struggling away until Rodney came on board, and his vision was to double the size that anyone else had previously thought of, take over the whole of Hobson Wharf, as well as try and keep parts of Prince's Wharf where it started from. So again, Rodney was showing huge ambition. People said it would never happen. The Mayor once criticised, Les Mills sort of criticised the vision, and found himself run over by Rodney and the power that was Rodney, and then quickly got behind the project.
Well, because it's traditional in new buildings to turn the sod to the very first spade of soil to start a new building going. Of course, we didn't have a spade of soil because we're floating on the water here, so Rodney managed to persuade the Lord Mayor at the time, Les Mills, to don his wetsuit and go down and dig up the seabed, and came up with a little bucket. Somewhere here there must be a little bucket of gunge from the river, the seabed, which will probably be sealed for posterity.
I must admit, when I first met Rodney, I saw this, I'm me. I'm happy to be me, and if you find me somewhat other than you would like, well, I'm me. And I think it was that stance of Rodney's that it wasn't cocky, it wasn't self-satisfied, it was just, I'm me. And I enjoyed that.
He had a parrot in his office, and his parrot was called Hobson. It was a rainbow lorikeet. I don't know where Hobson is these days, but he's probably still alive because they lived for quite a long time. And he was extremely noisy. We used to have to keep him covered up most of the time. If Rodney left the office, squawk and screech. And but he thought, as director of a maritime museum, he should have a parrot.
Rodney, of course, was known for his bow ties, and he formed a group with a French name. I think it was Les Boutonnières, a contrived French name, I have to say, which we all met up at the museum and all wore our bow ties and were able to select various bow ties. We met 2 or 3 times until actually Rodney got very busy with the development of the new museum. Did we have secret handshakes? No, I think we might have sort of gone like that when we met each other to show our bow ties, but there was nothing untoward about it whatsoever. It was purely social, and I remember the food was good and the wine was very good as well.
There is before me on the balcony Paul's sculpture. It's called Man Dreaming of and Searching for the Sea. In a way, Rodney, I think that's what both of us do. We search for and look for the sea. You tell me of how you look across towards the horizons from Matakana, from your hilltop residence, and of the magic of that horizon which constantly changes. And that is what horizons are for me too. I have witnessed them at sea when there has been nothing else around the yacht but horizon, the great circle of the disk of the sea. But beyond that horizon lies so many things, and in a way that's also the case with you and I in respect of the mind, in respect of the spirit. Beyond each horizon there is a new horizon, there is a new direction. Ursula Bethel's Long Harbour has always been one of my favourite poems, and the last verse is especially good for me, and I hope for you. It would not be a hard thing to wake one morning to the sound of birdsong in scarce stirring willow trees, waves lapping, oars splashing, chains running slowly, and faint voices calling across the harbour. To embark at dawn, following the old forefathers, to put it forth at daybreak for some lovelier, still undiscovered shore. Perhaps, Rodney, all I can say is, may you always travel towards unknown and lovelier shores.
Remember me, I used to live for music. And remember me, I brought your groceries in. It's Father's Day and everybody's wounded. First, we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin.